I want to do when I put my marketing hat on is I want to be able to essentially turn my sales team into bears with salmon just jumping in their mouths. It's just super easy. I've just got salmon jumping in their mouths. All they have to do is have an easier conversation. So I want my marketing to do so much of the heavy lifting so that the sales is much easier. Do you need more leads? As I've done thousands of hours of consulting and helping grow coaching businesses, and most coaches say, I need more leads, Chris. And you know what? They're wrong. Right now, I want to show you how we craft what we call a money printing offer with the businesses that we work with. As most coaches and service providers think they have a lead problem, and I disagree. I think most of them actually have a conversion problem. Because even with a trickle of leads, with a money printing offer, you're going to be able to make sales. And that's why I want to show you the process we use. And importantly, we actually have to go through a process with our partners when they first join us, and why I want to take you through this. Because when you nail this, then you can use all the other stuff that I have for you for free in this free course and with all of the content that I share. Because if you have really great ad copy, if you have really good creatives, if you have a really great sales process, even if you have a really great delivery mechanism for how you get clients great results, but you don't have a great offer that can actually get people to understand it and then sign on with you, none of the other stuff is actually going to work. When making sure that we take on a partner, because we have a 100% success guarantee, we need to make sure that we're completely confident that we can grow this business. We have zero incentive as to actually start working with someone that is not a right fit because we stand by our guarantee. So there's 3 check boxes that I need ticked. And this is the way I think about it because I think this is going to help you. First, I use a jockey and horse analogy. So number 1, I want the jockeys, the coach. Are you a good operator? Are they at a high level of what they do? And can they get great results with their clients? Number 2, the horse, the business, the offer. Is this actually serving a growing market? And is it able to be a market leader? And then number 3, would I have this person over for Christmas lunch? Because we're going to have a long-term working relationship with our partners. And I want it to be able to have fun together as well. So the question that you need to answer right now is, do you have a high converting offer that your market will absolutely chew on glass and crawl through the snow to get access to? Because if not, stick with me. I'm going to show you how. Because I think about this in 4 key stages. And because we're not going to actually just come up with one buying offer, we want to actually craft each offer along the pipeline so we can maximize leads and sales all the way through. I think this is where a lot of people aren't talking to this. They think, oh, I just need an offer, which is the thing that people are going to buy. And I disagree. Okay, yes, you want that, but you also need everything with the 4 stages that I'm walking you through. So stick with me. This is going to make some really good sense. Number 1, cold traffic. How do you get them to actually take interest of you, okay? How do you get somebody that doesn't know you to know you and actually start building that know, like, and trust and authority with them as well? Number 2, lead nurture. How do you actually be able to get them into your sales pipeline and keep them warm and ready? Otherwise, they're just going to forget about you. Number 3, conversions. How do you actually get them to buy your front end offer? And then number 4, ascension. How do you get them to buy into your back end offer and be able to increase their lifetime value gross profit? So let me walk you through first the key elements to a money printing offer so we can take these elements and then break them down into the 4 stages. So this is where I think about it in the way of, with a new partner, let's say I'm having a conversation with you. I'm going to scale your business right now. What we need to do is we need to spend a short time literally answering each one of these points, because then we can take that and then sprinkle our marketing magic over the top of it to be able to come up with a money printing offer. So before we go into it, let me actually talk about one key factor, which is your economic model. Because I said before, the stages 3 and stages 4, there's a front end offer and there's a back end offer. And the way that I look at this to make sure that we have an offer, but importantly, do we actually have an offer that is going to build a business to give you the money that you want in the way that you want to run the business, so you're not hating your business at the end of the day. So this is when we make strategic decisions around things like, what is your front end offer, what is your back end offer, and are there any additional upsells or cross sells? Ultimately, we're looking to increase your lifetime value gross profit of that client. Now, I'm not going to answer this because, again, this is why you should subscribe, because upcoming episodes are going to go deeper into specifically this, and I don't want to deviate too far off in this episode. because we need to understand, firstly, understand the audience pain points and their desires, okay? The primary pain points are really going to be what are the biggest struggles and the frustrations that your audience is actually dealing with. Can you answer that? Secondly, can you answer with core desires? What are the outcomes or the transformations that they most deeply desire? The next thing we want to think about is actually defining your USP, unique selling proposition. I don't want to go into like too much like marketing mumbo jumbo and trying to sound too highfalutin to what I need to be. But the way I think about this is differentiation. What makes your coaching different from every other person that's in your market as well? And this is really important. I don't want you to be better. I want you to be different. Next, we want to think about clarifying the benefits. So actually think about what are the tangible benefits, like specific measurable outcomes that your clients are going to be able to achieve. Now, this is really important right now because let's think about two different coaches. Let's say we've got a coach over here and he's a business coach, okay? So measurable outcomes that his clients can achieve is actually pretty simple because we can use money as that measurable outcome. Now, let's say over here, we've got like a life coach or a relationship coach, something along those lines, or like a woo-woo coach. Now, I'm totally into the woo, but let's say. Now, if this coach over here, their measurable outcomes are harder to define compared to this business coach because he's like, hey, you join me, I'm gonna make you more money. Pretty easy, like what we do in the Rainmakers. You join us, we make you a shit ton of money, and it's really easy for the little amount of money that you pay us every month because you're gonna make so much more out of it. The transaction's really easy. You know, oh, I'm actually getting much more worth of what I'm actually giving you right now. This coach over here, harder to define, but that's where the magic lands because when we're able to define those measurable outcomes, and importantly into the next bit, the emotional benefits. How will your clients feel after working with you? So example, are they going to be more confident? Are they going to be less stressed? Are they going to be having less shame upon themselves? Are they going to have higher social status? What are those emotional benefits they're going to have? Again, the business coach, they're going to have emotional benefits, especially like higher social status. Let's say a life coach, their emotional benefits could be like the more confident, less stressed side of things as well. And this is where you need to, on all of these points, and the kind of like the overarching principles as we go through this, how do you articulate that so the market actually understands it as well, okay? Now, next part, you need to craft the offer structure. So what is that actual core offer? What is the main service or program that you are selling? Answer that. Next one, bonuses. Are there actually any additional value-added components that enhance the core offer? I'm not going to go deep into the bonuses side because the way that I think about it is I can use those as levers to help the sale depending on where we are in the sales process as well. Next, guarantees. Are there any risk-reducing assurances, such as a money-back guarantee, a satisfaction guarantee? In the Rainmakers, we call it a 100% success guarantee. If you don't ROI with us, you literally do not pay. And then the next part to think about is going to be the actual pricing of your offer. So how do you appropriately perceive, what is the appropriately perceived value of your client to what it is? So ensuring your price reflects the value provided. Pricing is actually going to be an episode that we're going to have to dive into just by itself as well. Typical answer, to be perfectly honest, with the hundreds of hours of consulting with 6, 7, and 8 figure entrepreneurs is actually going to be increase the price. But we'll get into that in an upcoming episode. Again, another excuse, another carrot I can dangle as to why you should subscribe. Next, what are the actual, so with pricing, what are the market rates? So I want you to be aware of what are other competitors charging as well. Now, most coaches, they go through this process. All right, this coach over here is charging, let's say, $1,000 a month. This coach is charging $1,500 a month. This coach is charging $1,200 a month. And then they go, oh, I'm gonna charge $800 a month. I'm just gonna just go a little bit lower compared to everybody else. I think that is flawed thinking on a strategical position. But anyway, we'll get into that later. Then with pricing, flexible options. So considering actually the payment methods, payment plans to make it more accessible for somebody to be able to join as well. What is it that you can do there? Next, creating urgency and scarcity. What is the limited availability, the limited number of spots, or even time-bound offers, so you can actually help somebody say, this is why you should purchase now, and then not delay the purchase for later as well. Then we want to think about, well, what is some exclusive access that we can have as a part of that action taking now as well? Again, kind of thinking what are the bonuses and what are the reasons why we can get somebody to say, this is actually much more beneficial if you join right now compared to if you kick this can down the road and come back to us later as well. Next, in crafting this offer, we have to think about, and what I want you to answer, is I want you to prepare for objections. What are the common objections that are going to come up? So I need you to anticipate and prepare the responses to those objections. And I want you to think about what are the actual rebuttals going to be. So you can have strong, empathetic rebuttals that are going to address the concerns and then reassure those prospects so that they're then happy to take the next steps as well. Now, I will say one thing. This is going to be a little bit high level right now, but you're a smart cookie, so I think you can keep up with this. And that's going to be the case of thinking of those objections. And what I do is I will go to the sales team of that business and I will say, you are on the front lines, you are in the trenches. What are prospects saying in those sales calls? Literally going through transcripts, listening and watching those sales calls to see what are the objections that are coming up. And then what I want to do is I then want to put into my marketing the answers to those objections. So because what I want to do when I put my marketing hat on is I want to be able to essentially turn my sales team into bears with salmon just jumping in their mouths. It's just super easy. I've just got salmon jumping in their mouths. All they have to do is have an easier conversation. So I want my marketing to do so much of the heavy lifting so that the sales is much easier for them to be able to go through. But anyway, that's not a side tangent, but it's kind of like conclusive to what's coming on. Next, what we want to be able to think about is, this is really important. This is where you have to sit down and actually do some work right now. Develop persuasive messaging. How do you craft compelling copy? Be able to create the headlines, the bullet points, the narratives, the stories that are going to actually resonate with your audience, and really using those stories to illustrate the success, to be able to connect emotionally with those potential clients. You want to be able to establish credibility and you want to be able to establish trust. You can do that with testimonials, with case studies, being able to talk to, well, what have people in your previous position, what are the problems they've gone through, and then what have they achieved through what it is you prescribe them. The way I want you to think about this is case studies. Again, go back to the objections. There's typically going to be like 3 to 5 main objections that your business is going to be having. There's nuances, but they're in general buckets. I would think about, if I were you, and this is what I do, is I look at those objections and I'm going to create one case study per objection. So that if I have a prospect that says, oh, I need to, let's say the prospect says, oh, I don't have enough time to then do this. What I will do is I will get a case study of a previous client that had very limited time and be able to show them real proof of how this person had limited time, why they still joined, and the amazing results that they got from this program or service that I'm offering as well. Does that make sense? I hope so, because it makes sense for me. And I'm a thick-headed meathead. Now, this one, I haven't been able to craft the words really effectively right now. This is something I'm working on, so stick with me and hopefully you can pick up what I'm putting right down. But this comes to the concept of, are you the charismatic leader that you need to be? Are you the person that your ideal client actually wants to listen to? And I think this is something really important because we can have, let's say, let's think of fitness coaches right now. There's tons of different fitness coaches. Do I think every fitness coach needs to be absolutely peeled and ripped and in great shape? No, I do not think so. But I think there is a certain level of common sense, a certain level of empathy, a certain level of like being able to understand and put yourself in your prospect's shoes and answer, am I the person that inspires, and am I the person that this person actually wants to do business with, that wants to listen to, that respects? And if you're not, then you're going to have to solve that. How you solve that, that's going to be a question left for time for another day in another episode. Now, I'm going to geek out on something in some marketing right now, and I really hope that you stick with me because when you get this, your marketing becomes a hell of a lot better. As one of the most important questions a marketer needs to answer is, what does my prospect know? Okay, what does my prospect know? Now, Gene Schwartz created a spectrum that highlights the levels of awareness of a prospect. And the levels of awareness in the marketing is in a framework that helps marketers understand where their audience stands in this spectrum to knowledge of the interest and in the actual product of the service. And so what we want to be able to do is we want to break this down. And this is the way Gene Schwartz, and hopefully I can remember this off the top of my head good enough, which is a case of number one, the most aware prospect. So this audience knows your product and is ready to buy. So the messaging that you have to them is very much a direct call to action with strong incentives. So this is where you're going to want to show maybe discounts, limited time offers, that this person is like ready, raring to buy, and they're probably just choosing between a couple of different options. So you need to give them the direct option for them to be able to buy now. The second level is product aware. So this audience knows your product, but isn't convinced that it's actually right for them. So our messaging in this is going to have to be specifically really showcasing the benefits and the differentiators. So this is where you're going to use more testimonials and case studies to be able to build trust. The third level, solution aware. This is where your audience knows the results, but they don't know that your product provides it. So this is where there's a little bit more education that needs to come in. This is where your messaging needs to focus on how your product provides the solution that they're seeking and showing them how it actually addresses the specific problem that they have. How do you actually solve their problem? Now, the fourth level is problem aware. Now, this is where they know that they have a problem, but they don't know what the solution to that problem is. So this is really where education kicks in. This is where your messaging wants to educate them on the problems and implications, and then is going to be able to introduce them to the potential solution. Because then the fifth level is completely unaware. The audience doesn't realize they have a problem or need, and therefore your messaging really needs to create awareness about the problem first before you can actually then go into telling them what the solution is as well. So if you have that spectrum, the first level is the easiest to be able to sell to, but that's the smallest part of the actual market. So as you get better, and this is where I start from left and work to the right, I would start on the left-hand side and sell to the people that are ready and raring to go. And then you want to increase, let's say, increase your TAM, your total addressable market, by working along that line of spectrum. This is important to know, because that most important question, what does my prospect know? When you're crafting your offer in each of these stages, you have to understand, what does my prospect actually know? How do I talk to them? How much do I need to educate them, and how much do I need to help them to move to that next step as well? So the way that we actually put all of this together with a coaching business is we think of it in cold traffic. So there's awareness and engagement that needs to happen. So how do we go to people that don't know us first? And our strategy for this is we create high quality, engaging content that draws attention and provides them immediate value. Now, we want to be able to really focus on the headline, the creative, and especially the offer to the next step for them to be able to take, so that we can go to the next stage, which is lead nurture, building the relationship with them. So this is where we want to be able to nurture, or this is where we want to be able to actually engineer a sequence that is going to educate, build trust, and showcase your authority. We don't just do this on the whim. We don't just hope. We've got to engineer this process. And this is where we want to be able to show empathy. We can show that we can solve their problems, and we want to use all the tools in our quiver. We ultimately want to be able to use email, SMS, calling them, specific social and long form content, and retargeting ads. Now, when I say specific social and long form content, that is something really important, because when a prospect comes into your ecosystem, let's say they opt into something, we don't just want them to randomly go out and go, here's my YouTube channel, or here's my podcast, or here's my Instagram. No, I want to be able to give them something hyper specific, ideally related to what they opted in for, because that's the problem they're wanting to solve, and I want to show that I can solve their problem. So the next stage is going to be conversions. This is where we want to seal the deal. Okay, so this is where we need to present the irresistible front-end offer that highlights the clear benefits, and we want to reduce the risk for them so they're happy to take that next step. So this is where we want to be able to do all the things that we need to get them into that sales conversation for us to be able to do. And in this free course series, there is just one specific episode going through the actual sales call process for you to be able to do this. Then the last stage, because remember we've got the front end sale, now we want to look into a back end sale. We call this ascension, how do we maximize customer value? So this is where we want to obviously be able to create ongoing value and have exclusive offers so we can be able to have repeat purchases and high value transactions. Now, this really comes down to how can I solve a different problem that I know they're going to have, or how can I solve the problem that they've currently already signed up for, but do it in an easier and faster way on their behalf. And this is where all of this comes down to something really important. You might not like this, but I hope you do. And that is going to be the case of right now, from everything that we've covered, all you need to do is sit down and go through each step that I've taken you through. This is where you're going to want to go through this episode multiple times and make sure that at each point, because I've taken you through each of the 4 stages, and I want you to craft your offer at each of those 4 stages. Don't just do it randomly. Have it all laid out so you can see the congruency, the coherence between all of your messaging and how one leads to the next. Because most coaches, where they don't have coherence is going to be, they have a lead magnet that's solving one problem, but then their offer, what they're trying to actually get people to buy, just does not make sense to the problem that they initially came in on. And then you're just going to have a complete system that is not working at all. That's what I want you to do. Go back through this episode, craft your 4 offers at each of the stages, make sure they're coherent, and therefore you're going to be able to have something that is truly remarkable. It's so much easier to sell, and you're going to be able to get much better results with your clients because there is cohesion between everything that you're actually doing as well. And I just think you're just going to have so much more fun because it's so much easier and it doesn't feel like you're tearing your hair out. So if you haven't subscribed, then you know the drill. I recommend you do subscribe because there are many episodes that are coming and I'm walking you through the exact process we use to scale 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses. And also, if you found this episode and you haven't gone through the starting episodes of the free course series, then I'll drop a link below in the description so you get access to all of it as well. And also, if you want us to actually build, install, and run the entire marketing system for you that we use to sign 20+ new clients every week, then I suggest you book a free one-on-one demo. Now, this is not a sales call. This is our way to actually answer your questions, qualify you, and make sure we can show you exactly how we would actually scale your offer. And if you think that actually is a good fit, we can have another conversation about that. But as always, I appreciate your time and your attention. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. If you've enjoyed this episode and it's vibed with you, then make sure that you hit subscribe, whether you're on the YouTube or on the podcast. And importantly, if there is any guests that you want me to have on the show or specific questions or topics that you want me to be able to cover for you, simply put it into the YouTube comments or send me an Instagram DM. That way I can make sure you're getting the most out of actually being here.